We're looking at all the new items and the items that have been reverted or nerfed or straight up removed, and what that means in the context to Udyr. Right? So first off, let me go through the list of items that have been removed. We got Everfrost, just removed, gone, so RIP Officer Udyr. There's not going to be an Officer Udyr anymore until we have a new lockdown item that we combine with a stun. Crown of the Shattered Queen, also gone, so RIP King Udyr, another build gone, right? Demonic Embrace has been removed, which has been the main item for Udyr for almost 2 seasons now. But there's good replacement, we get into that later. Luden's Tempest and Night Harvester both have been removed. Not nerfed, removed. They both have been removed. So that's AP burst items just gone. A Stopwatch has been removed. Thank God for that. Duskblade also removed. Prowler's Claw, I guess was too hard to balance. Also removed. Turbo Chem Tank. I'm not too sad about that one. It was a full meme item. It was shit for almost 2 full seasons. And now it's gone, so I guess Riot put it out of its misery. Quite the opposite with Gore Drinker. That item has been broken for 2 seasons straight and now it's removed. Funny enough, Stridebreaker is still in the game. Gore Drinker has been removed, but Stridebreaker hasn't. Interesting. Even Shroud has been removed. Unfortunate. It was a pretty interesting support item. Because it has this expose weakness effect that when you stunned enemies, they got increased damage. It was like an aggressive engage support item. Was only here for 1 season and now is instantly removed because some junglers abused it, like Amumu and Udyr, I guess. Not too bad though. Supporters will get a new support item called Bloodsong that also has an expose weakness effect. Gargoyle Stoneplate removed, which I think is pretty fucking sad. It was a high skill cap item and very cool to build in the late game. Radiant Virtue removed. That is super unfortunate. We were planning to combo it with Echoes of Helia. And also that's the Santa Udyr item build gone now. We got Divine Sunderer removed. Also kind of crazy. I feel like the item was good, but maybe too good. At least that fixes the Divine Sunderer versus Trinity debate, because now Divine Sunderer is straight up gone, so it's gotta be Trinity on the deer. Silvermere Dawn also been removed. I guess it didn't see enough play. Gale Force is gone, so that's RIP for the dashing Udyr. But it's also nice because ADCs can't dash away from us anymore. And yeah, last but not least, Chemtech Purifier. I guess that's okay though. I mean, the support anti-healing item was a bit too broken, honestly. Like, the team just relied on the support building anti-healing every game, and I don't think that was healthy at all. Alright, so I'm not going to do a minute of silence here because I can't take that, right? But 10 seconds of silence for all the items that have been removed and the poor Udyr item builds that now are 6 feet under in a grave. Amen. So first off, I think the most important item of this entire preseason is gonna be for Udyr. Let's get into the meta Udyr right now. Liandry's Torment, which has been pretty much reverted to its original state. It now builds again. It now builds out of Haunting Guise, which that is a blast from the past, and doesn't give mana anymore, but health instead. This makes it huge for playing it on Udyr in the jungle, because in the jungle you don't need any mana. And health, ability power, both great stats. And you get a burn damage on your Phoenix, which is exactly what Demonic Embrace did for you. Now there's a little bit of a bonus effect as well. Suffering. For each second in combat with enemy champions, deal 2% bonus damage up to 6%. So it has a ramping up effect. You know, pretty nice. I enjoy it. I enjoy that, absolutely. We deal 2% max health damage per second Yeah, it's pretty much a Demonic Embrace replacement. I guess Riot removed Demonic Embrace exactly because now it would be too closely related to Liandry's Torment, and they didn't want people to just build the same item 2 times. New Riftmaker might be great. Yes, that is exactly what I was going into next. Now Riftmaker's also building out of Haunting Guise, Leeching Leo's gone, but it still has Omnivamp when you finish it. Hear me out. For each second in combat with enemy champions, deal 2% bonus damage up to 10%. At maximum strength, gain 10% Omnivamp. So it has pretty much the same effect as Liandry's, right? It ramps up per second, although Liandry's only ramps up to 6% bonus damage, while Riftmaker ramps up to 10% and gives Omnivamp on top. And it has the passive effect, gain 2% of your bonus health as ability power. So this is pretty much the new Demonic Embrace now. Liandry's got reverted to its old state. Demonic Embrace got removed, and a few of Demonic Embrace's qualities got pushed over to Riftmaker. Now, a lot of people are claiming Liandry's Torment is going to be the new main meta Udyr item. I think Riftmaker is slightly better. I think Riftmaker really is slightly better. The fact that it has this gain 2% of your bonus health as ability power is super nice, right? It costs the same amount of money, but look at the stats. 80, 350, and 15 ability haste. We got 90 and 300. So it gives 50 health less. It gives 10 ability power more, but the ramp up effect is like 4% weaker, and it doesn't give Omnivamp, and it doesn't give ability haste. For me, like stat-wise, Riftmaker just completely outscales Liandry's Torment. So I think the new meta Udyr is gonna rush Riftmaker. He might build Liandry's Torment after that, if he wants to build super aggressive. But there's other options. Definitely. Like, you can definitely combine those, but you don't have to. The effect states, for each second in combat with enemy champion, deal 2% bonus damage, up to 6%. So it says it boosts all of our damage. This does not exclude damage from items. So Liandry's Torment stacks with itself. Both Riftmaker and Liandry's Torment state that they increase all your damage dealt to enemy champions by 2% per second, and that does work on items as well. So if you build Riftmaker, do not be afraid to just build full health afterwards. You don't need more ability power. This item alone gives you 80 ability power, plus 2% of your bonus health as ability power, so you know, tank items will give you AP. And you deal 10% increased damage. And this 10% increased damage will work on other items too. So if you build Sunfire Cape and you're close to an enemy and he's burning through your Sunfire Cape, guess what? Sunfire Cape is gonna deal 10% increased damage through Riftmaker, right? This 10% damage increase from Riftmaker works on other items too. Most interesting change to me, this is why I put it very high up on the list, is the Tiamat changes. Now, if you are an ancient fossil like me, you might remember a time where Tiamat was not just a passive item that whenever you auto-attacked an enemy, made a wave, you could also use this item actively to make a wave around yourself, right? And this would not only work on Tiamat, but also on the Hydras. See, I can actively use it and it makes a wave around me. Usually this is a bit bigger. They will make it bigger on live servers. They will add a sound effect, of course, as well. But yeah, this is just placeholder stuff. There's also a new Hydra called Profane Hydra, which is a lethality option. And that you can also use actively, right? This one was much bigger, probably because they needed to make a new particle for this. So yeah, this accurately represents what it's gonna look like on live servers. So this is pretty great, especially for Udyr, because when you play a full auto attack champion, you know, there's champions like Asriel, for instance, which are not full auto attack champions, and they can use auto attack and then shoot an ability in between their auto attacks and then auto attack again to fill in the blank, right? They do auto attack, Q, auto attack, or auto attack W, auto attack Q, auto attack, right? And they do this crazy shit. Udyr can't do that. Udyr is all about just auto, 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 right? And he can't fill in those blanks. He has decent attack speed, which doesn't make these blanks as bad as they seem, but they're there. Now Tiamat fixes this issue, because now, when you run up to an enemy, then you auto attack him, you can do auto, Tiamat, and auto. Now, this gets even better when you look at Titanic Hydra, because Titanic Hydra is different from the other Hydras. When you use Ravenous Hydra actively, or any other Hydra, it just makes a wave around you. Titanic Hydra enhances your next auto attack. So when I actively use it now, nothing happens. I walk up and auto attack, now there was a wave, a big wave behind him, right? And stronger auto attack. This is an auto attack reset. You can now buy an auto attack reset. For everyone who plays Udyr knows switching stances is not an auto attack reset. Stuff like Trundle Q or Set Q, those are auto attack resets. When you auto attack and instantly use the ability, which is also an auto attack, but it resets your timer so you can auto attack again. With Titanic Hydra, Udyr can do that too. So if you walk up to somebody, you can auto attack Titanic Hydra and it will instantly send out another auto attack. So like this. Boom, boom. Look at the speed, right? Usually it would look like this. Boom, boom, right? Way slower, right? One more time. Look at it. Boom, boom. And now with Titanic. Boom, boom. Super fucking fast, right? And this is with 170 ping. It would probably be just slightly faster. Now, I think this is super interesting to get Udyr's Awakened Q, for instance, out faster, right? Oftentimes, you will run up to enemies, use your Awakened Q, you get one auto attack on them, and then they manage to disengage before you can get the second one on them that sends another lightning on them. Now, with Titanic Hydra and Awakened Q, you can instantly get both Awakened Qs out. But more importantly, this might actually be a window into exploring Turtle Max Udyr top. Let me explain it, okay? So, Turtle. Udyr gains a 75 shield, scaling with 2% of his health, right? All of the stuff scales with health. His lifesteal scales with max health, his shield, and the Awakened heal, all of it scales with health. So if I rush Titanic Hydra, which gives me 550 health, this is gonna do a lot for my turtle. Now imagine the enemy wants to trade with me, and I put in turtle, and then I do the auto attack Titanic auto attack combo. Especially with Awakened Turtle, the instant heal you get out of that is insane, right? And you don't have to worry about not dealing enough damage with a Turtle Max Udyr, because Titanic Hydra gives you 55 attack damage, an on-hit effect that scales with max health. So on top lane Udyr, you could actually start a meta now where you play Turtle Max Titanic Hydra Udyr, and I feel like this could work pretty well. Hullbreaker. Also very interesting for Udyr. Now, if you paid attention, lately Riot has buffed all the gold gain you get from taking down turrets, especially the inhib turret, which used to give fuck all, right? So all the turrets give about 100 gold more, even like 124, 150. And that is great for split pushers, and Udyr is a split push enjoyer. Now Hullbreaker got massively changed. Let's take a look at this, right? Basic attacks grant a stack for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. The 5th stack consumes them all to deal 89 plus, scaling with your max health, bonus physical damage. Increased to 208, so more than twice, right? Plus bonus health scaling, bonus physical damage against structures. Nearby allied siege and super minions gain 33 scaling with level, bonus armor and magic resistance. Alright, so there's a lot to unpack here. First off, you don't deal straight up bonus damage to turrets anymore. It is now only on every 5th auto attack. That isn't inherently bad though. That just allows the enemy to do a little bit of, how do you say, counterplay, right? A lot of people were complaining that Hullbreaker didn't have enough counterplay. People were just ignoring them, bashing on their turret, being unfucking killable. Right, now it's not every auto attack of yours deals bonus damage to turrets. It's like one big damage, but only every 5th auto attack. So if your enemy sees you pushing his turret and you're like 2 auto attacks in, he still has 3 auto attacks time to stop you from doing that, right? Hullbreaker is also now nerfed for any champion who isn't like specifically supposed to be an Omega split pusher, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I love Sion and I love Baal's FFS and his like Sion split push style, but when Sion was released, he was supposed to be this big team fight machine who's just running in, right? He wasn't meant to be a split pusher, and Riot is kind of heading into this direction as well now, because every champion who won't have a lot of attack speed now will really struggle putting these 5 auto attacks onto a turret, let alone multiple times, right? Like 5, 10, 15 auto attacks. Now if we look at Udyr and his awakened Q and his passive, like he has attack speed for days. Udyr is eating good. Now we look at champions like Fiora and Zed with auto attack resets, also attack speed crack, right? They will be eating good. Jax as well. But there's a few split push top laners now out of the picture. Illaoi, for instance, as well. She has an auto attack reset, but that's it. Her attack speed is garbage, right? So this is a Hullbreaker nerf for all the tanky split push top laners, which is alright in our book. We just care about the deal, okay? Interestingly enough, not only do you deal bonus damage to turrets now, every 5th auto attack, but also on champions. It's a lot weaker against champions, but it would help you 1v1. So Riot is seeing this as a playstyle now where you get rewarded for winning the 1v1 situation, and Hullbreaker is helping you push that 1v1 into a winning angle for you. Alright, next up we got Spear of Shojin, another huge buff for Udyr. Sadly, Spear of Shojin doesn't give movement speed anymore, but instead we have this new passive called Focused Will. Spell hits grant stacks up to 4. Your spells deal 3% increased damage for each stack. Now I don't know how good this is gonna be on a lot of champions. On Udyr, this is insane. Now you're looking at Udyr and you might be thinking to yourself, he barely has abilities, bro. He's just auto-attacking. But what you might not know is that Udyr's auto-attack count as spells if it's the first 2 auto-attacks he does, right? So if I use my Q and get the on-hit damage of my Q for the first 2 auto-attacks, these 2 auto-attacks count as 2 spells. Look, it's stacked up 2 times. Spell hits grant stacks. So this is a spell. This right here, those ain't just auto attacks, those are spells. Now if I attack without having just used my Q, it won't stack. See, no stacks now. But every 2 first auto attacks of your stances, Q, W and R, will give you 2 stacks. On top of that, look what happens when I activate Phoenix. Watch the stacks. Every Phoenix proc actually gives you a stack of Spear of Shojin. So every 0.5 seconds, every 0.5 seconds, you get a Spear of Shojin stack when Wingborne Storm is active. And I didn't even use my auto attacks. If I auto attack on top of that, it's fully stacked. Boom, instantly. I don't think anyone else can stack this item as fast as Udyr. This is pretty great, especially because your spells now deal increased damage 3% per stack, right? So you get 12% bonus damage just on all of your auto attacks, pretty much. So your Q and Phoenix and W will deal more damage. So great item. Would definitely suggest this if you're playing Bruiser Udyr, either in the top lane or the jungle. First off, Experimental Hexplate, okay? You gain 30 haste for your ultimate. So it reduces your ultimate cooldown and not your other abilities. The way this should work on Udyr is that it would reduce his passive cooldown so he can use his Awaken more, right? So it's like double cast. And this cooldown here, the 50 seconds cooldown. But this is probably intended to not work right now. If you build Ultimate Hunter in the runes for Udyr, it replaces it. Udyr is not meant to reduce his ultimate. That being said, this can still be a very good item on Udyr, and the second effect should work on him. Overdrive. After casting your ultimate, gain 35% attack speed and 15% bonus movement speed for 7 seconds. We are talking non-decaying movement speed for 7 seconds straight. This is a Master Yi ultimate. This is just a Master Yi ultimate you can build. Now unfortunately this doesn't work right now. At least when I checked before it patched. I don't think they fixed it now. Nope. Doesn't work. Unfortunately it doesn't work. However, if we remember, Radiant Virtue, which also only triggers on ultimate, didn't work on Udyr on release as well and was fixed one patch later. So I'ma say Riot is gonna fix this and we might be able to use this later. So this could be very, very interesting on a team fighting AD Bruiser Udyr and maybe like an attack speed Udyr build, right? You gain 20% attack speed from this item plus 35% attack speed when it's activated and so much movement speed, which is gonna help you chase your target and move through the fight. The most important thing about this is this item doesn't have a cooldown, right? A lot of champions have a decently long cooldown on their ultimate ability and won't be able to spam Experimental Hexplate. Udyr, however, only has 50 seconds cooldown on his Awakened, which goes down to 20 seconds upon leveling up to max level, right? A little bit with every level. And every time you auto-take an enemy after you've used a stance, you can drop this cooldown down by 5% per auto-attack. You don't have to be a mathematician to know how crazy this would go. Let's imagine you are maxed leveled Udyr and your Awakened passive is down to 20 seconds. Experimental Hexplate lasts for 7 seconds. So in between your next Awakened and Experimental Hexplate, right? There's just 13 seconds. That's only 13 seconds left, and we haven't even accounted for that of our 20 seconds cooldown, we get 5% reduced every time we auto attack. So we are gonna pretty much be able to spam Experimental Hexplate with like give or take 3 to 7 seconds cooldown max, which is insane. It's just insane having all this attack speed and bonus movement speed, especially pretty much permanently. So I'm very much looking forward to this item. We can't test it right now, it's not working, but it will very likely work on the live server, just like Radiant Virtue. Malignance. 80 ability power, 600 mana, 20 ability haste. Right off the bat we see it doesn't give any health and it gives a bunch of mana, so it's pretty much useless in the jungle. However, we can still build this item later if we play jungle Udyr. It's just not maybe a good rush item. So just like Experimental Hexplate, it gives you ultimate haste, which will be useless for Udyr, but the toxic field effect is what's interesting here. Damaging a champion with your ultimate burns the ground beneath them, dealing 60 scaling with ability power, magic damage, and reducing their magic resist by 7, scaling with health, right, up to 12. Now I've tested this with Swain, because it doesn't work with Udyr right now, but the way this works is if you have an overtime effect damage, it won't just put the toxic field under the enemy once, it will put it under the enemy over and over and over again, right? So it's just like an extra burn. So if you want to go like a full burn Udyr, you could go Liandry's Torment into Malignance. This will very likely work on Udyr's Awakened Phoenix, and it would be a pretty good combo, because every time the Awakened Phoenix damages the enemy, Malignance gets refreshed. And while they're getting slowed by the Phoenix, they are getting damaged by the Malignance toxic field. And it's just a double burn, they don't get out of there easily, and it's just a huge buff to like a good Awakened Phoenix in the team fight, right? This is pretty great. I'm very much looking forward to playing around with Malignance and Hexplate, this for Awakened Q of course, and this for Awakened R. Next up we got Zeke's Convergence. Probably the biggest glow up and a change I've been begging for years. Now, the way Zeke's Convergence works right now, if you stun the enemy, your allies deal burn damage to them with auto attacks. That's the way it works right now. But now they changed it. 45 seconds cooldown, Frostfire Tempest. Casting your ultimate summons a storm around you for 5 seconds, dealing 50 magic damage per second and slows enemies by 30 seconds. Sounds pretty similar to what we got on Udyr already, right? When we use our Phoenix, we have a slowing frost storm around us that burns the enemy per second, right? So if you build Zeke's Convergence and you use your Awakened Phoenix, you pretty much have a double storm around you. Could be nice for a little bit of damage on top, but we don't get anything out of the slow, right? Because we already have the Phoenix slow, it would be a bit wasted. Here's what I'm actually thinking. Build this as a late game option on a Q-Max Udyr. Now when you use your Awakened Q, it's like you used your Awakened Q and your Phoenix at the same time. Because you have the Awakened Q Isolation Lightning attacks, right? But you also have a Frost Storm around you, which slows and damages the enemy. So it's like Tiger Phoenix combined. Also, this will help you to apply your Q auto attacks without the enemy having a chance to run away because they're slowed, right? It's Phoenix and Q at the same time. Very, very interesting, very fun change, and thank you for finally bringing Zeke's back to us, right? Cosmic Drive, 80 ability power, 250 health. Finally, it gives health again, okay? Finally it gives health again. 25 ability haste, 5% movement speed. Damaging an enemy champion with an ability grants 33 movement speed for 2 seconds, scaling with level, right? Up to 60, and we're talking flat movement speed. Fucking insane. Let me just show you what that does on the deer, right? So right now, we're on 367 movement speed, we don't have any boots, right? Activate this item, we are on 402 movement speed without boots. And this item refreshes every time Phoenix ticks on the enemy. Usually, you know, other champions with somewhat spammy abilities, you know, they could re-trigger the effect a few times, but once we are on top of the enemy with Phoenix, they won't get rid of us anymore. Yeah, Imperial Mandate. 60 ability power, 20 ability haste, 125% base mana regen, pretty much the same stats. Coordinated fire, 9 seconds per champion cooldown. Slowing or immobilizing an enemy champion, which our boy Udyr is pretty good at, marks them for 5 seconds. Allied champion damages detonates the mark, dealing magic damage equal to 12% of current health and granting you both 25% movement speed for 2 seconds. great. If you want to build support Udyr, I feel like this is a key item, definitely. It's a bit tough to rush because it doesn't give you any health. It's very aggressive. You might have to build one health item before that, but you can definitely put that into your core item build for supporting Udyr, like second or third item for sure. Jak'Sho. We can't have this discussion without looking at Jak'Sho. We're talking about the meta deal, we gotta look at Jak'Sho. If you ask me, this item is kind of dead in the water. 300 health, 50 armor, 50 magic resistance. No doubt that makes you pretty fucking tanky, right? For each second in champion combat, gain a stack up to 5 stacks. At max stacks, become empowered, increasing your bonus resistance by 30% until the end of combat. Now there's a lot to unpack here. So first off, the health drain effect at max stacks is gone, right? It's gone. Obviously, Riot had to nerf the item because it went down from Mythic to a Legendary. It used to give armor and magic resistance for every stack and then 20% bonus resistances on max stacks. Now, it gives you no armor and magic resistance per stack, only armor on max stacks. Let me show you. I start to go in combat, it starts stacking, I don't see any bonus. Now it's fully stacked, boom, there it is, right? So only on max stacks you gain your bonus now. Yeah, you will have to survive these 5 seconds of combat without your bonus stats. It will reward you more for it at the end because you're getting 30% bonus instead of just 20%. But you definitely have to play a little bit more careful at the start of the fight. I can definitely see this as a good late game option. If you are already tanky and you feel like, yeah, the enemy can't burst me down and I can get back up when I'm on low health, and you can survive these 5 seconds, you can go for this item as like 3rd, 4th or 5th item. Definitely like a late game option to be tankier, especially when you look at the enemy and you're like, oh my god, they have so fat ADC and so fat mages. I kind of need both armor and magic resistance. Jak'Sho is there for you, right? It will catch you when you're falling down, but don't trust it too hard. Don't put this in your core build. I think the item is kind of dead now. Wouldn't build this in my core 2 items. Unending Despair. This one is pretty interesting to me. Similar to Jak'Sho. 400 health, 55 armor, 10 ability haste. Nice, finally a tank item with ability haste, right? Very good on Udyr. And with the passive effect Anguish. Every 7 seconds, while in combat with champions, deal 25, scaling with max health and level, magic damage to nearby enemy champions. Now the important part. Healing for 250% of the damage dealt. So let's do the math right here, right? Let's say we deal 25 damage. How much would we heal for? 100% is 50, 75, round about 89. And the range on it isn't too terrible. You can't see it when you hover it. They're probably gonna fix that. But yeah, 7 seconds into combat. Obviously the enemy that's standing right in front of me is gonna get hit. Boom. Just saw it, right? Spawn an enemy right here, we should still hit him. Yeah, and we just drain from him as well, right? But if we place it slightly up behind him, I don't think we hit that. Yeah, no, so we don't drain from this, but we do drain from this. The aura is decently sized. The damage you deal is magic damage, so if you build Abyssal Mask, which reduces the magic resistance of nearby enemies, it's a nice little combo. So you can definitely put this on Aura Udyr, or any tanky Udyr that wants to sustain himself in the team fight. Huge combo actually, because this gives armor, this gives magic resistance. They both give health, they both scale with health. This reduces magic resistance, this deals magic damage. I feel like these 2 items are made for each other. Yeah, if you want to do like a Cancer Aura Udyr, I definitely suggest this combo here. Trailblazer. 250 health, 40 armor, 5% movement speed. Lead the way. While moving, gain 20 bonus movement speed. At max speed, create a trail that speeds up allied champions' movement speed by 15% of yours. Your next attack discharges the bonus movement speed, and melee champions slow the target by 50% for 1 second. So it's pretty much Deadman's Plate, right? It gives you bonus movement speed ramping up while you're moving, and once you hit the enemy, the effect discharges and slows. And, well, Trailblazer doesn't deal bonus damage, but Deadman's Plate does. You also can't combine these two items because I guess Riot thought it would be too strong. I would still suggest building Trailblazer on Udyr if you feel like playing a support style. And here's a pretty interesting combo I'm gonna show you. This is definitely something I will do once preseason is out. Bet on that. So, as you can see, while I'm moving, Trailblazer stacking up, and now it drags this sand behind me. This dummy right here, right now, has 426 movement speed while it's in my trail, and now it's 370, right? When it's not under there. You actually can combine this. Elixir of Iron gives movement speed to champions in your trail as well. So if I now run through him, it's even more movement speed, 476. Right, so you can have this double trail behind you. And let's be honest here, how often have you been in this situation? You run at the enemy, you force your way through, and then your team just can't follow up. They can't keep up with the deer, right? Or they're just like, I don't feel like it, I can't keep up. This is never gonna work, right? With this movement speed on their ass, they're gonna follow up. They're gonna follow up, right? We have experienced this when we built Shurelios on Udyr. When I made an engage on someone and I pop that Shurelios and they hear this sound effect, and they get this crazy movement speed, they are on their asses. They follow up 10 out of 10 times. Right? It's all about the psychic of your teammates. So if we are running ahead of our team and they are seeing us, you know, dragging these trails behind us, and they're getting insane movement speed while they're behind us, they're gonna follow. They're gonna follow. We can put Shurelios on top of this as well, you know, and have another movement speed here. So our allies are gonna have movement speed running behind us, and once we're close enough to the enemy, put Shurelios on top, you know? We're gonna have the conga line Udyr. Every champion just running behind us. It's gonna be great. Elixir of Skill grants 1 skill point. Wow, they brought that back, huh? They actually brought that back, huh? So if we drink this without actually getting a level up, yeah, we get a point. This is probably going to be core on Kayle again, so she reaches her transformation sooner. So now Kayle is getting her level 16 transformation at level 15. Also interesting on Udyr though, because he can't max all 6 of his abilities. Now he can put 1 point more in. Who knows if that's going to make the difference though. Sad news, Horizon Focus doesn't work on slows or immobilize anymore. When you deal damage with abilities to champions at 700 range or greater, reveal them. Doesn't consider us at all, right? It doesn't concern us. We can't deal damage at 700 plus range, so Horizon Focus is now unplayable on Udyr, unfortunately. It doesn't work on slows or immobilize anymore. We can't use it. Period. Dawncore. This item has been pretty interesting to me right off the bat, but I couldn't make it work yet. 40 ability power, 20 ability haste, 150% base mana regen. Decent stats, but what I'm more interested in is the passive here. You gain 3% heal and shield power and 5 ability power per 100% base mana regen. Also, gain 18 summoner spell haste. Okay. Right? So right off the bat, I see heal and shield power. I think Udyr, right? I think Turtle. I've tried combining Dawncore with other items that give base mana regen. Like for instance, Mikael's Blessing. We got Redemption with another 100%, right? But at the end of the day, it gives only 3% heal and shield power on top. And then you look at Mikael's Blessing, it gives 12% on its own. You look at Redemption, it gives 15% on its own. We now have 350% base mana regen, meaning Dawncore is giving us 9% heal and shield power. So with having built 3 items that give us base mana regen, this only gives us 9% heal and shield power, while Mikael's Blessing itself gives 12% and Redemption 15%. This stacking effect seems a bit too weak and is just like a late game option for supporters to deal a little bit more damage because they gain the 5 ability power per item and a little bit more healing and shielding on top. Still interesting though to me is the gain 18 summoner spell haste. I can't get over that. You know, that is a rare stat. That's a stat you don't see anywhere, bro. You got this on Ionian Boots of Lucidity, and you have it in the runes, and that's it, right? You have 12 summoner spell haste here. You got 18 summoner spell haste here, and I think you have Cosmic Insight as well. It's another 18. So you got 18 Summoner Spell Haste on Cosmic Insight, 18 on Dawncore, and 12 on Ionian Boots of Lucidity. If you combine all 3 of these, you get 48 Spell Haste, which is round about 32% CDR. So if you combine Boots of Lucidity, Dawncore, and Cosmic Insight, you can actually get a third of your Summoner Spell cooldown reduced. Not bad. Not bad at all, I'd say. If you combine all 3 of those, right, look at this. My flash is already on 230 second cooldown, usually 300, and we haven't even gotten Cosmic Insight. I don't have the Cosmic Insight rune right now. But imagine Cosmic Insight on top of that. We have like we have a 200 second flash. Instead of 300 seconds, we have 200 second flash. And now this goes even harder on other summoner spells, right? Imagine this on TP. You'd be anywhere, bro. Literally teleporting all over the place. Imagine this on a low summoner spell cooldown, like Flash or Ignite. You would have that shit up permanently. So we're definitely gonna fuck around with Dawncore just because of the fact it has this gain 18 summoner spell haste thing. We can make this work. It's goofy. I like that Riot is using more of these stats that are not represented a lot, like gaining summoner spell haste. Bloodsong. It has a Spellblade effect, so it's like a Sheen item. Every 1.5 seconds after using an ability, your next attack is enhanced with an additional 139 physical damage that is scaling with 150% of your base AD. If the target is a champion, apply Expose Weakness, increasing the damage they take by 12% for melees, 8% for ranged, for 6 seconds. This is pretty much the replacement for Even Shroud. Since Even Shroud got removed, we now have this as like the Expose Weakness item. But on top of that, it has a Sheen effect, right? Pretty interesting, I'd say. For any Udyr support enjoyers. You know, you deal some damage and you help your team deal damage. Not much to hate. Also gives you 200 health, makes it a little bit tankier, which you definitely need on playing support Udyr. I did a damage test, doing 2 auto attacks with Q and then 2 auto attacks with Awakened Q. Bloodsong versus Trinity Force. Bloodsong dealt 1200 damage. Trinity Force did 1600 damage, right? I feel that is pretty close, you know, that is pretty close. Only a 400 damage difference on those auto attacks, you know, and Bloodsong is pretty much for free because it's a support item you gain from the support quest. You have to build this as your starting item, but then like it builds itself. Meanwhile, Trinity Force is one of the most like expensive items in the game, right? Of course, it also gives you like attack damage, attack speed, ability haste, but if we're talking like straight up damage, the Sheen damage of Trinity Force versus the Sheen damage of Bloodsong plus the expose weakness effect of Bloodsong, it's pretty close. It's only a 400 damage difference, definitely viable on a supporting Udyr if you the kind of person who would enjoy that. Zaz'Zak's Realmspike has the effect Void Explosion every 7 seconds. Dealing ability damage to a champion causes an explosion at their current location that damages the target and nearby enemies, dealing 50 plus 3% max health magic damage, capped at 300 against monsters. Void Explosion every 7 seconds, right? If you got Ingenious Hunter, you can drop that down to like 4 seconds, and having this 4 seconds on the enemy applying over and over and over again, like if you're playing a tanky Phoenix Udyr, this could be pretty nice. Solstice Sleigh. This is an item very near and dear to me, because it's the only item we have gotten this season, except for one other which I'll show later, which makes Udyr able to heal his allies. Right? I'm really deep into support Udyr, and there's not a lot of items that allow you to heal your allies, or at least consistently heal them, right? There's Redemption and Mikael's, of course, but they have very long cooldown. Solstice Sleigh has a 20-second cooldown, which, of course, you can drop down to 13 seconds with a fully stacked Ingenious Hunter. Slowing or mobilizing enemy champions, easy for Udyr, restores 120 health and grants 90 movement speed, non-decaying 90 flat movement speed for 4 seconds to you and a nearby ally with the lowest health. Now, if you remember, like I said, you can drop down the cooldown of this item from 20 to 13 seconds with Ingenious Hunter. With it having a 4-second duration, you're only looking at 9 seconds without being able to trigger this item. Not bad, right? You can definitely consider this playing on a supporting Udyr. And I like this especially because it allows us to use Echoes of Helia once again. If anyone remembers, Echoes of Helia used to go crazy on Font of Life until Riot removed that interaction. Right? Now there's no way of triggering Echoes of Helia on Udyr. Right? Read the effect. Damaging a champion grants a soul shard up to maximum of 3. Healing or shielding an ally consumes these soul shards, restores 20 health and 55 magic damage to the enemy per shard. Right? Now that we have Solstice Sleigh, we could at least trigger Echoes of Helia every 13 seconds. It's nowhere near as strong as the Font of Life interaction, but it would at least make it playable again. If you want to play a full healing Udyr, you gotta go Solstice Sleigh. That's all I'm saying, right? Okay, next up we got Celestial Opposition, the last support item here. Interesting effect, listen to this, right? Blessing of the Mountain. Become blessed to reduce incoming damage by 40% for melees, 25% for ranged, lingering for 2 seconds after taking damage from a champion. So, it's the Crown of the Shattered Queen effect. Interestingly enough, Crown of the Shattered Queen got removed this preseason, right? So this is pretty much the replacement for Crown. It's only meant to be played for supports now. When the shield breaks, unleash a shockwave around you that slows nearby enemies by 50% for 1.5 seconds. Refreshes after not taking damage for 15 seconds. Now, this not taking damage for 15 second refresh is kinda crazy, because when you look at Crown, it used to have a 40-second cooldown. Now this is 15. It's kinda nuts. There's 2 ways this item can be played. Engage supports could play it, like for instance Leona, right? Leona could engage onto the enemy, and the enemy of course will try to peel for the person that got engaged and throw everything at the Leona they got, and this damage is gonna get reduced by 40%, which is pretty fucking huge, and then follows up with a slow, which will help out like locking down the target she was engaging and helping her team follow up. The other way, and more likely way, this is going to be used because Leona is going to take Aftershock anyway, and putting Celestial Opposition like on top of that is overkill, right? More likely, enchanters that don't want to get picked out are going to play this. Like for instance, you have Soraka, right? You try to all-in the Soraka, she gets a 25% damage reduction. You try to stay on top of her, but after 2 seconds, you get this slowing shockwave that will allow her to like run out of your range. So this is more likely for what it's going to be used for than for engaging supports, but both could do it. Frozen Heart now got dropped down by 400 gold, putting it at 2.3k, and is now a support item. Reduce the attack speed of nearby enemies by 20%, which I believe is still the same as before, and reduce incoming damage from attacks by up to 10, scaling with max health, capped at 20% of the attack's damage. I believe they removed 20 armor from it. Yep, they removed 20 armor from it, but made it 400 gold cheaper. Insane. Insane. The idea is that supports are now gonna build this to like have this anti-aura for their team and against the enemy carries. The way I see it is, my Udyr build just got a hella cheaper. It's still a great item to build for non-supports, and great change. I think Riot needs to boost up the price of this item by another like 200 gold, or everyone is gonna abuse it. Hextech Rocketbelt used to cost 3.2k, now only 2.5k, so 700 gold cheaper. They removed 30 AP from this item, from 90 down to 60. It lost its magic pen, but it gained 50 health, right? So it makes sense that the price dropped this hard. But the most important thing this item has is still on it. It has the dash on 40-second cooldown. So if you build it right, you can still use it actively and dash around. If you're playing a full AP Udyr, especially in the jungle, definitely consider building this, because having a dash on Udyr is kind of huge. And now that it dropped down from 3.2k down to 2.5k, what more could you want, bro? What more could you want? Opportunity is now it's called Opportunity. Okay, thank God they patched that out. 55 attack damage, 18 lethality, 5% movement speed. You know, for the lethality Udyr enjoyers, this might be viable. Here's how the effect goes. After being out of combat with champions for 8 seconds, gain 6 lethality, scaling with level. This lethality lasts for 3 seconds after dealing damage to champions. Murder speed. If a champion dies within 3 seconds of damaging them, gain 150 decaying movement speed for 1.5 seconds. This does not have a cooldown. So, if you kill an enemy, you use this insane movement speed to run to the next enemy and kill that enemy as well, you gain that movement speed again. This could be pretty great for lethality Udyr in a team fight, so you have a chance to disengage with this movement speed or run to the next target. Especially because they removed the movement speed from Eclipse, kind of sad, you know. But it's kind of interesting combo with Youmuu's, because Youmuu's gives you out of combat movement speed and active movement speed, and this gives you like in combat movement speed after kill. So it like kind of complements each other, right? You start off with Youmuu's, then Youmuu's movement speed drops, and Opportunity picks it up, right? So constant movement speed in the team fights, pretty cool. Udyr is going to be able to play this to a degree. It's going to be tough, because playing squishy Udyr is always very dangerous. More likely, traditional assassins and Hackerim are going to abuse this combo and Opportunity itself, but it's still playable on Udyr. If you really want to make it work, you can make it work. Iceborn Gauntlet, probably the biggest nerf out of the bunch here, I'd say. It lost a lot of health. I think it still has round about the same armor and ability haste. Still, of course, has his Spellblade effect, but it got changed a little bit. After using an ability, your next attack is enhanced with an additional 93 physical damage. This is 100% of your base physical damage. So unlike other Sheen items, which go 150 or 200 base physical damage, this is a lot weaker. It creates a frost field under the enemy for 2 seconds. This is the same as before, but with one change. This frost field also put an exhaust on the enemy that reduced their damage by 10%. So this was pretty nice for a tanky 1v1 situation, Udyr, or like catching out carries. You know, you reduced their damage, they had a lot of a harder time fighting back against you and or your team. This is gone now, so it's only the slowing effect without the exhausting effect. With you having your Phoenix slow, there's now not too many reasons to build this item anymore. The exhaust effect was nice, but now that it only has a slow and a very mediocre Sheen effect, it's not worth it. Like, Bloodsong out damages this item. The new support Sheen item out damages an actual Sheen item you have to buy. Look at this. This is 150% base AD and expose weakness effect on top. Right? And this is just 100% base AD. Pitiful damage. Pitiful. Stormsurge. Just look at the stats of this item alone. Completely insane stats for its price, right? It's not even 3k gold. It gives you 100 ability power, 12 magic pen, and 5% move speed. Just to put that into perspective, right? How much 12% magic pen is. Or not percent, but flat 12 magic pen. The old Hextech Rocketbelt, people called that shit OP because of the magic pen and put it over Night Harvester. It gave 6 magic pen and 5 magic pen per finished item. So if you had Rocketbelt and 1 more item, you had 11 magic pen. This item gives 12 magic pen on its own. Storm Raider, 20 seconds cooldown, which again we can drop down to 13 seconds cooldown with Ingenious Hunter. Dealing 35% of a champion's maximum health with 2.5 seconds applies Squall to them and grants 25% movement speed for 2 seconds. So right off the bat, really easy for Udyr. We have our Q Isolation, which makes it easy for us to deal 35% of an enemy's health within 2.5 seconds. If you have a full AP Udyr, you can even do this with Phoenix, right? After 2 seconds, strike the target, dealing 236, scaling with level and ability power, magic damage. If the target dies before the strike, it detonates immediately, damaging enemy champions around them and grants 30 gold. So, just to show this, boom, boom, and boom. There was the item, right? So you have your Awakened Lightning crashing down on this thing, right? You take 35% of the health at least. You get another Lightning on top because of Stormsurge. If you don't play full AP Udyr, it's a lot harder to pull this off with Awakened Phoenix, but definitely still doable. Especially just like lore-wise, like for the style. How great is this? You have a Lightning coming down on your Awakened Q, and now you got a follow-up Lightning on Stormsurge. You know, they say Lightning never strikes twice, but I mean, we got the item to disprove it. I mean, look at this. Boom, boom. We got the Lightning coming down, and boom, there's another. Right? Great. I love it. If I play full AP Udyr, this is definitely going into my item build. I love it. Especially because movement speed is always great on the deer, and when you activate this item, it gives another movement speed bonus for 2 seconds straight, which is great for in and out gameplay. You burst the enemy, you disengage, you come back with another burst, or you completely disengage. Great item, what can I say, bro? We are looking at Eclipse, which got changed a lot. A lot of changes. The cooldown went back up to 6 seconds, it used to be 4 seconds. It doesn't give movement speed on proc anymore, only the shield. They completely removed the lethality. but it's 300 gold cheaper. If you want to build Khajiit Merchant Udyr, you can still build this item. It's still good, it's fine. Losing the movement speed really sucks though. The movement speed is what made this item pretty great in my opinion, and not having the lethality on your Q and shield bash damage anymore is gonna hurt the build a little bit. But yeah, what can I say? A 300 gold discount is not too shabby. Hollow Radiance, a new burn item, building out of Barmy's Cinder and Spectre's Skull. We got the first magic resistance burn item here. Taking or dealing damage causes you to begin 10 scaling with max health magic damage per second to nearby enemies, increased by 25% against minions for 3 seconds. Taking or dealing damage refreshes the duration by this effect, right? This is the same as Sunfire, right? Exactly the same. However, you also have killing an enemy deals 20 magic damage in an area around them. So this is like a wave clear burn item. So we walk up to the minions and now we start dealing burn damage. And every time a minion dies to our burn damage or to our auto attacks, they explode in this purple aura. And it deals pretty decent damage. And it's just gonna help you shove in waves faster even if you are a tank. Right? Tanks are sometimes struggling to shove in lanes. This will be less of a problem with this item. However, I think it's a bit awkward. Here's the issue with the item. It gives you health and a bunch of magic resistance. But if you are a top laner that is not playing against an AP champion, you don't want to build this item. You don't want to rush it. Right? If you're playing against an AD top laner, you would rather go Sunfire, or you just build Barmies, build armor first, and then finish this later. But by the time you finish this item, lane phase might be over, and the bonus like pushing power this item gives you is like not used in lane phase. So it's in like this awkward position where Hollow Radiance can only be rushed against AP top laners, and there's not a lot of them. You got Ornn, you got Gwen. Who else? You know, there's no top laner. There's basically no AP top laners, right? There's a lot of AD top laners, but not a lot of AP top laners. I'm hoping it sees play because the item seems fun, but I don't see the purpose in getting this wave clear in the late game as a tank, because then your team is going to clear the wave, right? And you can't rush it in the lane phase because the magic resistance is going to be useless then. So we'll see how this item does. I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical. I would build it on Udyr top, but really only in the niche scenario I'm matched up against an AP top laner. Crypt Bloom. Now this is the other item I talked about that also allows Udyr to heal his allies. 70 ability power, 30% magic penetration, just like Void Staff, and 15 ability haste. With Life from Death on 60-second cooldown, you can, whenever you get a takedown on an enemy champion within 3 seconds of damaging them, create a healing nova on their location that heals allies for 50 plus 50% ability power. So, you engage an enemy, you get a kill on them, they explode, boom, you and all your allies around you get a heal. Pretty nice, pretty nice. It's kind of like a Fiora ult, but instead of like a consistent field, it's like an expanding field. So more like a Seraphine W, right? It's a big aura heal. I can't trigger it here because you can't kill the dummies. But the aura, like from here, it would almost reach this dummy. It's a pretty big healing aura. And the heal is pretty strong too. Now you can drop down the cooldown of this item with Ingenious Hunter from 60 seconds to 40 seconds. But I don't think that would make the difference, unfortunately. Most fights are pretty much over in 30 seconds. So even if you would, like at max, like 20 to 30 seconds. So even if you would drop down this item to a 40-second cooldown, I don't think you could trigger it twice in a fight. If you got like 2 skirmishes in a row, maybe this could do something for you, but yeah, no. I would also not consider rushing this item on Udyr jungle to heal your laners, because when you kill the enemy with your laner together, they're just gonna push the Wyvern and then recall. The heal is gonna be wasted. Like, after you killed the laner with them and they receive the Crypt Bloom heal, they're not gonna stay in lane. So you can't rush it on the jungle Udyr, and you can only use it like once a team fight. But if you wanna play an AP healing Udyr, this is a nice late game item. You will likely only be able to use it once a team fight, but it's fun. I think healing on Udyr is always fun, and the stats of this item go kind of fucking hard, especially for an item that costs less than 3k. You get 30% magic penetration and 15 ability haste, right? Like, where's Void Staff at? Can anyone tell me where Void Staff is at? Over here? 3k, right? Costs 150 gold more, sure. It gives 10% magic pen more, but like 30% magic penetration is already huge, and you get this heal and ability haste on top. Udyr would definitely build Crypt Bloom over Void Staff any day, because ability haste is so huge on him. Wit's End now gives 20% tenacity. Nice. Really fucking nice, bro. The on-hit magic damage effect is a little bit weaker, I think, but it still gives 50% attack speed, 50 magic resist, and now 20% tenacity. So Bruiser on hit might actually start becoming a thing. I can only reiterate, you now can combine Stridebreaker and Trinity Force, giving you 300 health plus 400 health. Hexplate is a thing, also attack speed with health. Terminus gives you armor and magic resistance on hit. You have this magic resist item on hit that also gives tenacity. Like, we eating good, bro. We eating good. I would definitely consider this as a late game option on Udyr if you only have one tenacity rune in your runes. You can build this as like a third item and like munch on that 20% tenacity. So good, so good. So if you want to deal some more damage on a tanky-ish Udyr, pick up Wit's End. 100%. 100%. We got Kaenic Rookern. Nice art there, by the way. Interesting item. 400 health, 80 magic resistance. I think it's one of the strongest magic resist items in the game with that. With like straight up 80 magic resistance. And the effect, after not taking magic damage for 12 seconds, gain a magic shield for 20% of your maximum health. I can only imagine you play this against heavy AP comps, and this item is supposed to help you engage, right? If I now run at like Syndra and Gwen enemy team, they have to go through the shield first and my 80 magic resistance before I actually getting damaged. So this is just helping tanks and bruisers not get bursted while they engage into a heavy magic damage team. Another huge buff for the deer. Deadman's Plate. 300 health, 45 armor, 5% movement speed, nothing too crazy here. Shipwrecker effect, still the same. But, new passive, Unsinkable. The strength of movement speed slowing effects is reduced by 25%. God bless, right? This is great. This is great. You used to only have Boots of Swiftness, 25%, and Unflinching in your runes, right? Unflinching does 5 to 20% slow resistance on low health, and that's it, right? And oftentimes you found yourself in the situation where you went Unflinching in your runes, but the enemy had so heavy auto attackers that it was so worth to go Plated Steel Caps you couldn't go Boots of Swiftness. So now you're stuck with just the Unflinching slow resistance. That's only good if you're low on health. If you're full on health, it's only 5%. So heavy slows like Nasus W, Zillion, Thrash, Twitch, they took you out of the game. A slow on Udyr is like a root. We don't have any dashes, so movement speed is all we got. You take movement speed away from Udyr, he's out of the game, right? So having more slow resistance is great, especially on an item that gives movement speed. So we get to use the movement speed of Deadman's Blade like more consistently, even if we get slowed, right? Caster's Companion. 90 ability power, 600 mana, 20 ability haste. Probably made for control and artillery mages, right? This is a little bit of a replacement for Luden's Tempest. Gain a shot charge every 3 seconds, up to 6 maximum. Damaging abilities consume all shot charges to deal an additional 40 magic damage to the target and 1 additional nearby target per charge. If there are insufficient targets in range for each remaining shot, repeat the damage on the primary target, dealing 35% damage. So you have the Luden's Tempest effect of one of your abilities proccing and then the damage hopping over to another target. Like that, right? Just like Luden's Tempest. But on top of that, you now have isolation damage on this. So if I hit this poor guy here, who's all alone because he did bad positioning and didn't group up with his team, and I now hit him with 6 caster companion shots up, he's gonna take 1 shot and then the 5 follow-up shots as well. Only 35% of their damage, but that's still a lot if you like accumulate all of them. So boom, and the other ones tick right after, right? So yeah, this is pretty great if you want to build like a burst Udyr. It also helps with consistent damage because every 3 seconds you gain a charge. So let's say we engage an enemy, right? Hit the motherfucker, put the Phoenix, boom, Caster's Companion hits them, and then every 3 seconds you just gain a little bit on top, you know? Boom, they're triggered again, right? And there's another trigger, right? It's a little bit on top every time. It's just a little bit on top every time. It's a very nice item. Unlike Luden's Tempest, unfortunately, it doesn't give a movement speed bonus, but that's fine. You know, it's not made for that. It's not made for that. It has a little bit too much mana for Udyr. It gives 600 mana, which I often said, useless in the jungle. You don't need mana in the jungle. And this item is too aggressive to rush in lane phase, but you can still build this as like second or third item after building another item that gives you a safer early game. If you want burst damage, you can definitely pick this up, right? Especially because it has a nice synergy with Q. Good Udyr players are really used to find the enemy in an isolated position, so when they use your awakened Q, it doesn't jump to an enemy, but it all hits one enemy. And Caster's Companion is aiming to do the same thing, right? Of course, you can also do like spread damage with Caster's Companion and jumps over, right? But best case scenario is definitely if you get all the Caster's Companion on one target so you can burst them down. Awakened Q does the same thing, so if you want to build a full AP burst Udyr on top of Stormsurge, definitely consider Caster's Companion. Super fun item, give it a shot. Pun fully intended. Guns's Rageblade, 30 attack damage, 30 ability power, 25% attack speed. I believe those stats didn't change. Attacks apply 30 magic damage on hit. Basic attacks grant 8% attack speed, stacking up to 4 times for a maximum of 32 attack speed. While fully stacked, every third attack applies your on-hit effects twice. Not too shabby, hasn't changed at all, aside from one thing that I'm really thankful for. The on-hit damage of Rageblade scaled with your crit chance. Every crit chance you had made the on-hit damage stronger. That isn't a thing anymore now. Right? So if you wanna build Rageblade, you're not forced to build crit items to make it worth it. So let's say I, an on-hit attack speed Udyr enjoyer, is building Trinity Force and maybe the new Terminus, right? I can now build Guns's Rageblade without feeling bad that, oh, I don't have any crit items, Rageblade is probably not worth it for the on-hit effect alone, right? That's not a thing anymore. So if you want to build a full attack speed Udyr, and you have some on-hit items in your pocket, like a Hydra, or Terminus, or Wit's End, you can put Rageblade in your late game item build to like really put on some damage there on top. Terminus. One of the most interesting implementations into the game, I'd say. It's a bit edgy, but listen to this, okay? 40 attack damage, 30% attack speed. Attacks apply 30 magic damage on hit. Juxtaposition. Alternate between light and dark on hits each attack. Right? I have two wolves inside of me. One is good, one is evil. Light, dark. I got light power, dark power. That is super fucking edgy. But the effect is actually super cool. Light attacks grant 3 armored magic resist scaling with level for 5 seconds. Right? This scales up to 5 per auto attack and then a maximum of 25 armor and 25 magic resistance. And the dark auto attack grants 6 armor penetration and magic penetration for 5 seconds. Terminus could be the reason that Riot removed Divine Sunderer, because if you would combine the magic pen of Divine Sunderer with Terminus, armor and magic pen, some mixed damage champions would go crazy. Anyway, to see this item in action, you know, just look at my effects down here. We got 1 stack here, 1 stack there. Light, dark, right? And it alternates in between those until I have 5 stacks on both of them. And then I need to keep auto-attacking to keep these stacks alive. You know, this allows Udyr to stay tanky, although he's building aggressive attack speed. Gives you armor and magic pen. Obviously, Udyr can make great use out of this because he's dealing magical and physical damage no matter what you build on him, right? Awakened Q deals magic and physical damage, and Phoenix deals magical damage. You will always have this mixed damage. A lot of champions who will only deal physical damage and not a lot of magic damage, or none at all, won't make as great use of this item as Udyr does. So if you want to play on it Udyr, definitely consider this item. Banshees has seen a lot of changes. Now, I've used to build Banshees a lot for the King Udyr build. And it has changed like crazy. This item is now 500 gold more expensive, from 2.6k to 3.1k, which is unfortunate. Because they just put 120 ability power on this thing and made it way more expensive. Now, when I build Banshees, I don't care about the ability power. This is just a little extra. When I build Banshees, I want magic resistance and especially the spell shield. To me, it now just feels like the spell shield has gotten insanely more expensive, right? So what the fuck? Yeah, we went from 80 ability power to 120. It doesn't give ability haste anymore. And it's 500 gold more expensive. The passive spell shield went down from 40 seconds to 30 seconds cooldown, which is nice, I guess. But we built Ingenious Hunter on it anyway, so in the end it would only make a 3-second difference, right? So Banshees has seen a huge nerf for Udyr players. This is more for burst and full AP mages now to stay safe with the spell shield, like Vega or Malzahar, right? But King Udyr is pretty much dead since Crown got removed, and Banshees is now this monster, right? This fucking chunk of AP. Yeah. It's still like late game optional if you want the spell shield really badly, because like specific enemy spells are stopping you from all-inning. You can still do it, but it's not as great as before. Let me just say that, bro. Lichbane. Now, Lichbane has seen a goated change I've been waiting for forever. So first off, Lichbane got boosted from 85 ability power to 100. It gives ability haste, it gives movement speed, and it still has the Spellblade effect, of course. Now, the Spellblade effect is what's really interesting. If you look at the Spellblade effect, it says 100% base AD plus 50% AP. Before, it used to be 75% base AD, which is really strange, because if you look at Sheen deals 100% base AD. So every time you build out Sheen into Lichbane, you would lose 25% base AD damage. Sure, you would gain the 50% AP scaling, but you still lose out on some damage. They have now removed that, and it's now straight up 100% base AD plus 50 ability power scaling, and 100 ability power instead of 85. So if you want to build a full AP burst Udyr, Lichbane is finally a good option again. It's slightly more expensive now, this item, but it has seen barely any play aside from champions that had it at their core item, and this is gonna help us to like bring it back into the meta, and especially on Udyr. Stridebreaker hasn't seen a lot of changes. Still gives attack damage, attack speed and health, and it still gives you 20 bonus movement speed if you deal physical damage. That all stayed the same. The active effect used to just slow enemies near you, but now, on top of slowing nearby enemies by 30%, you also gain 30% bonus movement speed per champion hit, right? So it's like a movement speed steal. Pretty nice. Also, the active effect of Stridebreaker is physical damage, which means it will trigger its own passive, giving you another 20 base bonus movement speed on top. Just to show you what that might look like in action, we are now 350 movement speed. Actively using this item puts us at 468 decaying movement speed. Not bad at all. Put boots on top of that, we're on 410. Puts us on 510. So we pretty much gain straight up 100 decaying movement speed. Not bad. Okay. Sundered Sky. 55 attack damage, 300 health, 15 ability haste. Light Shield Strike. The first attack against a champion crits for 150% and heals for 82 scaling with AD plus 8% of missing health. So, to show you what that looks like, you see these dummies got this Demacia icon near them, meaning Sundered Sky will grant me the crit and heal on them. Get some damage here. Boom, bam. Now if I auto attack them, boom, crit and heal. If I follow up with another auto attack, it won't crit anymore. Go up to this one, crit him as well, get another heal, and now this one is back up. This is because this item only has a 6-second cooldown per champion. It states the first attack against a champion crits, but first attack within 6 seconds. So if I would keep attacking the same target, although I stay in combat with this target in 6 seconds, this effect becomes viable again, right? This is pretty interesting for a bruiser teamfight Udyr. On old Udyr, more often than new Udyr, you had a playstyle where you ran through the entire team and stunned everyone with the bear slap once, you know, locked them down. This was pretty viable back in the day because you had consistent movement speed on E, and the lunge was a little bit better, right? Now this is pushing this playstyle again, because you can just run up to somebody, ram strike him, get the crit on him, run to the next one, crit him, and then run to the next enemy, right? You get heals throughout, you get healed every time. So even if the enemy tried to stop you from doing that, you heal through it. You put some decent damage on them because it's critting them, and you get to stun a lot of the enemies, right? So this is pretty nice for bruiser teamfight Udyrs. Especially if you combine this with Stridebreaker, right? You gain movement speed every time you deal physical damage to enemies. that helps with Ramstan's movement speed being kind of sucky, right? Because you run up on them, it decays already, but then you auto attack, you gain 20 movement speed back. So Stride Breakers help you keeping consistent movement speed while running through the masses. And you can just put a bunch of CC onto the enemy. And let's say for instance, this is their tank, and this is their support. And over here is the carry. You are AD Bruiser Udyr. You want to lock down the enemy team, but you also want to attack the enemy carry. You would walk up to this guy, boom here, boom there, boom here, and then burst this guy. This would be like the optional scenario, right? You stun one enemy, you gain Stride Breaker movement speed, 20 of it, right? You run to the next enemy, you either hit this guy with Stride Breaker or both of them in the best case scenario, steal their movement speed, run to the carry, and burst them down. That way you just lock down 3 people with 1 Ramstand stun, put a lot of damage on them because each first auto attack on them were crits through Sundered Sky, and you should still be pretty healthy because you just healed 3 times as well. Warmogs. Warmogs has probably seen the biggest glow up of all items, aside from Zeke's Convergence, but it's now actually a playable item. Look at this. It now gives 5% movement speed as a stat, instead of just health and health regen. Also, it now gives 10% out of combat movement speed. Alright, so, wow! 400 movement speed without boots. That's not bad at all. And of course it still has the regeneration effect, which is like the staple of Warmogs, like that's the thing it's supposed to do. This bonus movement speed will help you to like escape fights and re-engage them once you are healthier. I might start building this on late game Udyr, especially if I build Heartsteel, right? Because Heartsteel is stronger the more health you have. But Heartsteel leaves you pretty clunky. You need movement speed to be able to gap close to your targets to put Heartsteel on them. Warmogs now gives you movement speed. It's a match made in heaven, bro. So, it's great Warmogs is finally an item. Shadow Flame, 120 ability power, 12 magic penetration instead of its 10 to 20 magic pen on missing health effect. It now has Cinder Bloom. Magic damage and true damage. Critically strikes enemies below 35% health, dealing 20 increased damage. You heard that right, people. Mages can crit now with their spells on low health targets. It pretty much gives you an execute on all mages. Let me hit this guy with Awaken Q while he's full health and look at the magic damage. It does 41 to 42 per proc. And now it's 50 per proc, right? 50 instead of 42. So 8 damage more per proc. How many times does the lightning strike? Next 2 auto clicks. So 12 times in total. So 8 times 12, you deal 100 more damage, roundabout. So you deal roundabout 100 more damage when you crit Q with Shadow Flame. It's alright, it's alright. You could also use this just as like execute damage for Phoenix. So if you stick to enemies while you're close to them and you apply Phoenix, you deal a little bit of bonus damage. It's gonna be a lot better on bursting AP champions than on overtime damage. But if you play like full Magic Pen Udyr, you can pick this item up. Wild Liandry's Riftmaker Shadow Flame? Why? But would that be worth it? The Liandry's burn damage is so like low. I don't know if that would be worth it. So our Liandry's deals 15 on proc. Yeah, 15 on proc right now. Because it's critting. Let's remove Shadow Flame, 120 ability power and 12 magic pen, and get this instead, 100 ability power, 12 magic pen, plus this for the missing 20 ability power, right? So this is the same stats, but without the crits. Same stats without the crits. We now have 11 damage per proc. Okay, so it's 15 versus 11. So if you would build Shadow Flame on Liandry's Riftmaker, your burn damage would do 4 damage more per tick. I don't think that's worth it. Oh yeah, it's 2% max health damage, not scaling with ability power. It would be better against tanks, yeah. This dummy only has 1000 health. We could try it on this one over here, see how much it deals to him. So here, burn damage deals 15, 16... So here it's from 16 to 21. So it's a 5 damage increase as well. No, from 4 to 5. With 800 health difference. The enemy needs a lot of health to make that worth it, I feel like. Dude, if you have Shadow Flame and you ignite somebody, Ignite will crit. Ignite will crit! Matter of fact, I think you could build Sunfire. So Sunfire would crit with Shadow Flame. Hold up, wait, I want to test this out. So right now we got it ramping up, 25, 27, 1. So now it's fully ramped up. Oh my god, it crits. Sunfire crits. So stupid, man. It's so stupid. You thought this was Sunfire Cape? Fool. This is Shadowfire Cape. Oh my god, Redemption can crit. Must test. Max health, true damage. Okay, let's see this. So 100 damage on 1000 health target, right? 20% increased damage, meaning when it's low on health, it would be 120 true damage, right? Yeah, 120. And the more health the target has, the crazier this gets, right? This guy has 180 health. 216. I mean, some bonus damage on a support item, we don't say no to that. Execute damage on redemption, come on, that's pretty funny. yeah, it's now 12% max health damage instead of 10%. Blade of the Rune King has seen a few changes. Stats have been slightly changed and its passive is now on the first auto attack instead of the third. Blade of the Rune King used to slow the enemy after the third auto attack, now it's the first. That's kind of bad on Udyr if you play jungle Udyr, because you're pretty much running at the enemy and stunning them, but you know, since the first auto attack is a stun, you don't need to slow on this, so it's wasted. If you play lane Udyr though, and you like just both vibing and the minions are meeting right down here in the middle somewhere and the enemy's like looking to like get a minion, you could like walk up to them with Q. Q gives you bonus attack range. You auto attack them, then they're slowed, right? Then they're slowed, and then you follow up with your E stun. That works. So if you want to play like Blade of the Rune King on Udyr, you can do that on top lane, mid lane. Not in the jungle though. On the jungle it's pretty terrible, because you won't be able to reach the enemy without using your E. Zhonya's now gets 120 ability power, so a lot more. 50 armor, no more ability haste, and is a lot more expensive. This item costs 3,250 gold, so stasis don't come cheap no more. Stopwatch also got removed. You now have the stasis effect on Seeker's Arm Guard. Also only a single use. After you've used it once, it's broken, you can't use it again. Shattered Arm Guard, right? And you have to finish Zhonya's to use it again. So Stopwatch can't be abused by AD carries and assassins anymore. You gotta be a mage to actually use Seeker's Arm Guard and or Zhonya's. Pretty great change for Udyr, because Udyr is a champion that likes to go all in. Udyr is also a little bit of a Zhonya's user though, if you played full AP Udyr. I don't mind paying more gold for it though. I think the item needed the balance change, and it now having 120 ability power is great for Udyr, because Udyr actually has very good AP scalings on his W and R. So you can make a lot of use out of that. Hubris. 60 attack damage, 18 lethality, 15 ability haste. Killing a champion creates a statue of yourself. When a champion that you have damaged within the last 3 seconds dies, gain 10 plus 1 per statue attack damage for 60 seconds. So the way the statue thing works is that when you kill a champion, it spawns a statue here inside your base. It won't block you or anything, you can walk through it, it's just for like decoration and for your ego, I guess, since the effect is called ego. It's a little bit goofy, and yeah, when you kill an enemy, you get 10 AD plus 1 per statue, so it stacks, right? If you've killed 3 enemies, you have 3 statues in your base. If you trigger the effect then, it's 13 AD for 60 seconds instead of just 10 AD. So 1 AD per statue is not a lot, but it's better than nothing, right? But there's a big downside to this item. It doesn't stack with itself. If you kill one champion, you gain 10 AD. If you then kill another champion, it doesn't stack on the passive, giving you 21 AD for 60 seconds. It just refreshes the effect, so it goes from 10 to 11 attack damage for 60 seconds. Right? So, to me, this item isn't too great. If you are a champion that can use like the 60 attack damage and lethality, and you don't need any like utility effects that give you movement speed, shields, slow resistances, whatever, you can use this. This is going to be great on champions like Qiyana, maybe even Draven, champions that actually have an ego, you know, and like to stack. On Udyr, a bit too much of a meme. Final statement. I am mostly excited for Trailblazer Udyr, Unending Despair on Udyr, and goofing around with full AP on Stormsurge, and abusing the ultimate items, Malignance and Experimental Hexplate with Awakened Spam Udyr, right? Other than that, Bruiser Teamfight Udyr with Stridebreaker Sundered Sky is also going to be a very interesting combo. We are eating good this patch. This season. We're eating good this season. There's no lack of new items for Udyr to explore. Him being as variable as he is, we got a lot to look forward to.